before the world truly catches fire, before the sun even stretches its light across the window frame. And definitely before that first chime or notification calls you away, there's this tiny window of time.
Yes.
It's a moment of just profound, non-demanding stillness.
It is. It's maybe the one moment of the day that is truly yours. It's defined by an absence of external pressure.
Yeah.
And yet, if you look closely at how most of us begin our day, we never really meet that silence. We skip right over it.
That's really the central conflict, isn't it? The moment the alarm goes off, or maybe even before, we roll over, grab the device, and we dive headfirst into this stream of other people's thoughts, their needs, their expectations.
It's an instant download of chaos.
It is. Emails, messages, news alerts. It's this flood of noise before our own mind has even had a chance to surface.
Which means the day doesn't begin with intention. It begins with reaction. And if you start the day reactive, the day is immediately shaped by all those external demands. We sacrifice what one of the texts call the quiet sovereignty of the self.
Wow, quiet sovereignty of the self. I like that. So the goal is to avoid being, I guess, instantly colonized by the outside world.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay, let's unpack this idea of waking up to ourselves first before the noise starts. Because this silence, it isn't just an empty space waiting to be filled with hustle, is it?
No, absolutely not. If you see this early morning stillness as doing nothing, you fundamentally miss its power.
Okay.
It is perhaps the single most practical and profound thing you can do for your clarity. Think of it as a return to source.
A return to source.
In that soft hush of pre-dawn air. The house is still, the city isn't shouting yet, and there you are, just raw, unedited, unperformed.
That phrase, raw, unedited, unperformed, is so evocative. It suggests that right before sunrise is when we're closest to our unshaped self, before we put on the agenda or the mask we wear for the world. But I have to be honest, if I'm there, raw and unedited, I often feel closer to my tired self, or my groggy self.
Yeah.
How do you move past that?
But that is the starting point. The practice isn't about being perfectly alert. It's about being present with what is.
I see.
The resistance, the grogginess, they're just thoughts. They're clouds drifting through. In this space, the breath becomes your primary rhythm, and the mind is just allowed to settle.
Which brings us to some of the ancient wisdom we encountered. There was this powerful central metaphor for the mind.
Yes, the mind is so often compared to water.
Okay.
Imagine a deep pool. When the water is constantly stirred up by distraction or desire or fear, all those frantic thoughts about the day ahead, it just becomes muddy, turbulent.
Right, you can't see anything clearly.
You can't see the bottom of the pool. The agitation prevents the mind from reflecting clearly.
So hitting the phone first thing in the morning is like taking a big stick and immediately stirring up all the mud at the bottom.
Precisely. You begin the day with distortion. But the moment the water is still, and the house is quiet, you are simply sitting. It becomes a mirror.
Mirror.
And in that mirror, truth appears. Not as some complex doctrine, but as a direct lived experience of what is real. The stillness provides the clarity to see your situation without all the turbulence of projection.
And there was a concept that ties directly into this clarity, the Zen idea of mushin, no mind. Can you help us connect that to the settling water?
Of course, mushin is the state of that settled mind, and it's not the total absence of thought. I mean, that's nearly impossible for most of us.
Right.
Instead, it's the absence of clinging to thought.
So not getting caught.
Exactly. Think of the sediment in the water. Mushin is the state where you're allowing that sediment to just settle on its own.
Okay.
Without judging the thoughts or analyzing them or stirring them back up. It's a state of pure receptivity.
And the pre-dawn silence provides the perfect environment for that.
The ideal canvas, just by withholding that external input for a few minutes.
What I find so challenging about this, though, is the cultural pressure. Our entire system seems to treat this kind of silence as wasteful, unproductive.
Yeah.
We praise the 5 a.m. hustle, but only if it results in something visible, The cold showers, checking stock prices. There's almost a guilt that comes with being still.
That is the profound modern paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We confuse motion with progress, we're obsessed with optimization and efficiency, yet we skip the one internal process that makes true efficiency possible.
Which is?
Clear intention. This apparent waste of time is exactly where real, sustainable power is cultivated. You are setting your inner weather before the world dictates it for you.
And that cultivation, that's where the brain science starts to echo this ancient wisdom. This is where it gets really interesting for me.
Yes. What's fascinating here is how neuroscientists have actually measured what happens when we stop doing and just start being.
Okay.
The brain's default mode network, the DMN, this is the network responsible for really high-level work like self-reflection, integrating memory, planning for the future.
The deep stuff.
The deepest stuff. And it activates most fully during these moments of stillness, during unfocused rest.
So the very moments we think of as unproductive are when our brain is doing its most important work, kind of weaving together the self.
Precisely. It's like the background operating system updating itself. That capacity to integrate experiences, to heal, to generate original ideas, it depends entirely on these quiet moments.
Unscheduled, unplugged, uninterrupted.
But the moment we flood our nervous system with emails, news, social media, we instantly hijack the brain's executive function.
Help me unpack that. If I check my emails at 6 a.m., isn't my executive function being used to plan my day?
It's being used to react, not to plan. Your executive function, your highest level of focus and decision-making, is strongest right after sleep.
Right.
When you introduce all that external input, you shift from deep processing to superficial triage. You spend your peak mental capacity managing other people's emergencies instead of defining your own path.
So we're squandering our best brain power. This really grounds that idea of sammasakappa, or right intention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sammasakappa means aligning your heart with wisdom and compassion before you engage with the world. But that intention, it can't arise in chaos. It needs space.
It needs that stillness.
Which is what we see in the monastic rhythm. Monks rise long before dawn, not just to pray, but to establish orientation.
Orientation versus destination. That feels like a really key distinction.
It is. Before desire stirs, before distraction knocks, they align their hearts. They're defining the quality of their being, not just the quantity of their tasks.
And that first movement of the day, if it's rooted in calm awareness, it carries through.
The entire day carries that imprint. It's like a shock absorber for whatever comes your way.
It really changes the whole frame. So let's move beyond thinking about silence as just a pause before action. What if? What if silence is the first true act of the day itself?
That is the quiet revolution. In a world obsessed with output, choosing silence at dawn isn't passive. It is radical presence.
Radical presence.
It is the boldest form of creation because in that stillness, you are actively claiming authorship over your inner life.
That requires a huge mental shift in how we view emptiness. We came across the Sanskrit word śūnyatā, which is often translated as emptiness. But that sounds like nothingness.
And that translation is so misleading. Śūnyatā is not a void. It's not a lack. It is a pregnant space. A readiness.
Like a blank page.
Exactly. Like a blank page before the poet writes the first word. That silence is pure potentiality. When the mind is still, it is most fertile.
And that fertile silence is where intuition lives. It's the subtle whisper of wisdom, not the loud demands of the ego.
Yes. This is why so many historical figures who had these massive breakthroughs credit stillness. Newton wasn't scrolling through a feed. He was sitting in reflective quiet.
Right, the apple.
Rumi composed his poetry in the hush before dawn. Steve Jobs credited his insights to his daily meditation. It is the essential habitat for meaningful insight.
This practice also reshapes our relationship with time itself. We're so often stuck in chronos, this mechanical, linear time of clocks and deadlines.
Always feeling behind.
Always.
And silence is the doorway into kairos. Chronos is quantity. Kairos is quality. It's sacred time, the time of meaning, of presence. A single minute spent in profound stillness can reset your entire trajectory.
So it's not a minute lost, it's a foundation gained.
And that foundation is also its biological armor. This isn't just philosophy.
Right.
Regular morning stillness physically rewires the nervous system. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, our focus center, and it quiets the amygdala, our primal fear center.
So this silence is a measurable biological defense against the anxiety and burnout that just define modern life.
It really is.
We have to acknowledge, though, that it's incredibly difficult. Our devices are engineered to steal this silence. Busyness is still praised as a virtue. Choosing morning silence really is a kind of a quiet rebellion.
It is a rebellion. It requires discipline. It's a moment where you proclaim, I will not let an algorithm dictate my inner state.
Yeah.
It's a declaration that your worth is measured by your presence, not the speed of your response to someone else's ping.
So, for someone listening who wants to start this rebellion, who understands the science, respects the wisdom, but is struggling with that first step, what's the practical first move? It's not 2 hours of meditation.
No. You don't need complex rituals.
Yeah.
You just need willingness and the absolute protection of the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
The most effective action is physical. Move the phone charger out of your bedroom.
Simple.
When the alarm goes off, just physically place your feet on the floor, feel the ground beneath you, watch the sky lighten. Practice mindfulness, or sati, not as a rigid technique, but as just showing up for your own life before you give it away.
That shift from the digital world to the physical earth feels so crucial. And this preparation, it leads to the ultimate question that can shift the day's paradigm, the final anchor.
Sit in that silence, even if it's just for 3 deep breaths, and ask yourself this one question.
What's the question?
Who do I choose to be today?
That is a fundamental reframing. It's not, what must I accomplish today, or what do I have to do, but who do I choose to be?
It's the difference between action born from noise and action born from silence.
Right.
Action born from noise is reaction. It's impulsive, hurried. Action born from silence, flowing from that question, is response. It's wise, measured, compassionate. That question becomes the quiet anchor that holds you steady all day.
The whole practice then it's really an act of self-dignity.
It's the highest form of self-respect. To sit in silence at dawn is to say, my inner state matters enough that I will attend to myself before I attend to anyone else. And your spirit will reward that choice over and over again.
And as we close this deep dive, the final thought that really seems to anchor all of this is this. The silence before the day begins isn't waiting for you to find the most productive way to use it.
Yeah.
It's offering you a chance to remember who you truly are before the world tells you who you should be.
Protect that time, honor that space, because that silence, it isn't merely a prelude to your day. It is the first, most powerful note of your symphony.